Hello guys, welcome to another episode of our Object-Oriented Programming and Database Connection series. In this episode, we will try to create and show you a simple program that fetch data from the table in a database. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to open, of course, the NetBeans. So after opening the NetBeans, this is what you can see in your screen. So we need to create a new Java class. So to do that, right click the source packages, click new, and then the Java class. So in this part, we are going to create a name for our new Java class. So we can name it whatever we want. But in this video, we will be naming it into section B2. Alright, so you can name it whatever you want, but we'll stick to the section B2. So click finish, and then after clicking finish, you can see this, and then we're just going to remove these unnecessary comments. So after removing those comments, this is what you can see on your screen. So we're just going to create our main function, or the main method, which is the public static void main. Alright, string, and then the arg. So after creating our main method or the main function, the next thing that we need to do is to check our connection. So you can do it, or you can see it in services, and then this is the connection that we have created, or we have connected on the previous video. So since we already have this connection, we're just going to import the java.sql.connection. This is to connect with to connect this program that we are creating to the database. So next is we have to create an object name for our connection. So we are going to name it into MyDBCon, but still you can name it whatever you want, but here we are using the MyDBCon, and we'll set it into the null. So after creating an object name for our connection, or creating a connection, the next thing we need to do is to supply these parameters. So these are the things needed to make our connection, or to let a connection function. So string db URL, db username or the uname, db keyword, and then the db class, and don't forget the semicolon. So we need to supply the data that is needed for these variables. db uname, and then db keyword, and then db class. So these are the variables that will be supplied by the data later on. So we'll just put a double quotation, right? So after doing this, we'll get the data here from the connection that we are using. Okay, right click, and then click the properties. Okay, this is where you can see your username, the driver class, password. So just copy. Alright, just copy it, and then paste it here. Alright, just paste it, and then root is the username. So you can just write it since it's just a short or a single word. And then for the driver class, copy and then paste. So we'll just leave the password blank since we don't have, or our database doesn't have a password. Right, so after doing it, after supplying the variable names for our connection, the next thing that we will be doing is to use the try and catch block. So by using it, we can detect or the try and catch block will catch the error in our codes or in our program. So just use the exception X. So after inputting the exception X, so to output the errors, we will use the J option pane. Okay, that show message dialog. So the other parameter is null, or the first parameter is null, and then the second one is the DB class. Sorry. This is the get message. We'll use the get message function to get the error from our program. And then there will be a message that will be shown. If there is an error, a message will pop up, a database error message. So to output it, we'll use the G option pane the dot error message. So now we need to work in our database, so we need to load our drivers. So that's why we will import the driver manager function or class. So after doing it, we'll go after the try. So we'll use the class.forName function, and with the driver class variable, which is the DB class. So after that, we will create a connection between the database and the Java class. So need to load the driver class, which is you will use our connection or the object of our connection, which is the mydbcon equals to driver manager that get connection, and then supply the parameters with our variables, the DB URL, the DB name, and the DB password. So next is we will prepare our query statement. That is why we need to import java.sql.statement. Alright. So now we'll create, after importing this function, we will create an object for our statement. So statement with the object name my STMT or statement. So still you can name it whatever you want. Alright, and then equals to our connection, the object of our connection, the object name of our connection, my dbcon dot create statement. So this is where we can create statement or create a query which we will use later on. So after that, we need something where our query or the answer of our query or the result of our query can be stored. So we will be importing the result set. So this is where the result of our query statement will be stored. So result set, and then the object name, the my result, we'll use the my result object name, and then don't forget the semicolon. So next is we need to perform a query statement. So we'll use the my result object, and then the my statement object, and then the execute query function, and then use the database syntax when selecting. So in this part, we are going to select the table student. So in this function or this line is used when we are going to ask something from the database. So since this my result function will hold all the data that we are asking, so we need to access it individually, so by column. So we'll create another variable for that column. So int fid stands for the ID, the string, db name, the db address. So this the int is for the column that stores number integers, and the string is for the column that stores word letters such as names, address, and date. Alright.
So, good afternoon everyone. I am Sanilen Cadimas. Ako'y musumpay sa ka-Elmae Jane nga codes. So, next is we have to get the data of each individual row of the table students from the database by looping it by row. So to do that, we will use the while loop. We will put the my result object to the while, since it hold all the data from the our database, and use the next function to next every rows in the table. So kani nga part mo din siya ang paggamit sa while looping. So next is So next is we need to assign a data to the variable. So we have to created for the individual rows. For the FID, we will use the my result get int and supply the parameter with the column name. So to test it, we can use the system that out that print line and go to the project and run file. So you can see all the IDs here from the database. So for the name, the same on what we did, on the ID, but we will just change the int into string since the name in our database has varchar data type. So to test it, we will just change the FID here into a F name. When you run it, you can see here all the names from the table of our database. So we will do the same with the address and the date added. So to output all the data, we will use system.out.println. So we can column names here at the top. So when we run it, so we can see here an organized data from our database. Di good maklaro. So, diring dapita, mao ni siya ang G option pane. So, to show it in a dialog box, we will use the J option pane. So, we will create a variable, string output order, to hold our format. So, to assign for our format, we will copy this and paste it here. So, after assigning the format of our variable, we will try to output it by using the G option pane. Show message dialog and supply the parameter with the object output order. To make it more organized, we will add in, and now this is the output. We can also add a column name here, and this now the result. So when we open and run the first Java class and sustain some information on it, the data will be fetched and added to the second Java class. So that's the end of this episode. That's how to fetch data from the table in a database. Thank you for watching.